Any traveler visiting the beautiful city of San Francisco is bound to take the customary boat ride around the Bay Area. As the boat turns around from under the famous Golden Gate Bridge, it heads towards the legendary island prison, Alcatraz. For 30 years, from 1933 to 1963, this little rocky island was the most famous prison in the US. As the boat passes the island, one can see some interesting graffiti on the prison walls. Though this is a legacy of the 1969 Native American takeover of the island, it still fascinates the Indians on the boat. And Indians are aplenty on these boats, as the area to the south of this bay is home to a large and very influential community of Indians.
Every time that flag's unfurled, they come into America. Got a dream to take them there. They come into America. Got a dream they come to share.
The Silicon Valley in California has more millionaires per square mile than any other corner of the world. It is full of stories of people who have made it big. But one story that never fails to fascinate is that of a 19-year-old boy who arrived at the Los Angeles airport in September 1988. His name was Sabir Bhatia, and he was soon to change the way the world communicated. Sabir came to the US to study electrical engineering at Caltech, and from there he came to the prestigious Stanford University in California. While working on his PhD in 1992, Sabir made the decision that was to change his life.
For 2 years, I was a student at Stanford, got my master's over there, and decided to drop out of the PhD program because I found that most of the work that I was doing was sponsored by industry anyways, companies like Motorola and Intel. So that's why I said might as well go and work for them and make money.
Money, money, money. Must be funny in the rich man's world. Money,
The startup bug had bitten Sabir, and even while working at Firepower Systems, Sabir got interested in the possibilities on the internet. It all started with an idea so simple and obvious that it seems almost surreal that no one had thought of it before.
Both my partner Jack Smith and myself, we were both working at a company called Firepower Systems. And it became hard for us to communicate with each other. Our company put a firewall around the corporate intranet. And ever since that firewall was put in, we could not access our personal email accounts outside of work, and we did not want to make use of our corporate email accounts to communicate with each other. So that's when we came up with the idea of creating an email system which was accessible through the web, because that would solve our problem. Then we could access our email from anywhere, any web browser, running on any computer anywhere in the world. And so the idea for Hotmail came out of a need that the two of us had.
In getting around their own problem of communication, they had stumbled across the big idea. But now they needed to transform the dream into reality.
if you see the wonder of a fairy tale, you can take the future, even if you fail.
I was 27, when I started the company, and started looking for funding for the company, and went around, knocked on a number of doors of venture capitalists, and many of them turned us down for different kinds of reasons. But we truly believed in the idea, so we kept going, knowing that definitely this was so good that it really had to be. It would have been a crime not to bring into fruition. And one of them agreed to put in a small sum of money in the company. So using that 300,000 that we initially got, we launched the company.
On the 4th of July 1996, Hotmail was launched. And such is the power of the net that in the first hour they had 100 subscribers. Each email sent by that subscriber carried the now familiar signature line on the bottom. Get your private free email from hotmail.com.
As more people would write about it, more people would use it, more people would use it, more people would tell their friends about it. So there was kind of a word of mouth network effect, which today some people refer to as viral marketing. And the viral part was that it grew like a virus. But of course it wasn't anything negative, it was a good product. The real reason it grew was word of mouth.
By mid-1998, the company was signing up new users at the rate of 125,000 a day. In just over 2 years, Sabir had built Hotmail's user base faster than any media company in history. It was just a matter of time before Bill Gates of Microsoft got interested.
In the span of the first year, we were about 5 million subscribers big, and that caught the attention of Microsoft, because Microsoft had a property called Microsoft Network, which was for the longest time stuck at about 2 million, and they were having trouble providing email to 2 million customers. And here we were a little upstart that was providing email to over 5 million subscribers. So that caught the attention of Microsoft, and then they wanted to find out how we were able to do so. They came over, looked at our technology, started talking to us. Then we did a business deal. We were to do a business deal for them where we would be providing email to Microsoft Network. And then when they looked at our plans, it became very clear to them that they and us would be competing in the future. And that's when the notion of a merger first came about.
Round one, fight!
But by the time Microsoft's army of check-wielding executives came calling, Hotmail's user base had touched an incredible 6 million. Microsoft started with an offer of $200 million.
Round two, ready!
They took it to $250 million and gradually went up to $300 million.
Round three, go!
But Sabir held on, and finally Mr. Bill Gates called this 27-year-old CEO to meet him.
It was quite a daunting experience. I mean, here you're as a software engineer and as an entrepreneur and as a CEO of a small company, you get to meet the ultimate CEO and the one who's got the world's largest company and most capitalized company, and also a brand by himself, well known and famous around the world. So it was quite an impressive experience. I was also nervous when I first went in to meet him, and then over time got more familiar and comfortable.
Bill Gates offered Sabir an astonishing $350 million. Sabir told him that he would not accept anything less than $500 million.
The winner takes it all.
So I really believed that we were unstoppable, that this service would grow to and today it's over 100 million subscribers use Hotmail all over the world. And I very much knew that we would grow there with or without Microsoft. So in a sense, I was selling the future of the company. And that's why I was willing to hold out for a higher offer. And I also believed that they wanted it very badly, and that's why that they would come back.
Finally, on New Year's Eve 1997, the ownership of Hotmail was exchanged for almost 3 million shares of Microsoft, then worth $440 million. All this for 2 years of work.
Monday, 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 must be funny in the rich man's world.
Bhatia's is the archetypical Silicon Valley success story, and a singular tribute to his achievement is the story behind the commissioning of a statue of his that was to be installed in Silicon Valley.
One of the venture capitalists who had put money in our company said that if I sold the company for more than 200 million, that he would personally get a bronze life-size statue built for me. And obviously we sold the company for more than 200 million, and so he agreed to do that. I flew to LA one day, and he had commissioned an artist to completely sculpt me, who took pictures of me. But when I came back, my mom called me from India and left all kinds of messages, asking me not to go ahead with it, because in Indian culture, or in our culture, we don't, celebrate people and epitomize them if they are still alive. So I think, so that's why I called him back and asked him to stop work on the building of the statue, because I thought it was too ostentatious as well.
Now this could only happen to a guy like me, and only happen in a town like this.
It is remarkable how far the Indians in the Silicon Valley have come in such a short time. By the 1980s, Indian engineers had become a fixture in Silicon Valley cubicles. They began moving into management, eventually trying their hand at starting software and hardware companies of their own. In a recent study, it was estimated that more than 300 Indian entrepreneurs have a personal net worth of more than $5 million, and the immigrants' collective net worth was $25 billion. One of the many high-flying Indian entrepreneurs who grace the Silicon Valley landscape is Rakesh Mathur. This 43-year-old graduate of the prestigious Indian Institute of Technology, Bombay, worked for Intel in the Valley till the early 80s. But even as a student, he always knew he wanted to do something on his own. And being in the Valley, you can't keep away from startups for too long.
If you're in Las Vegas, you can't stay away from the tables. So if you're in Silicon Valley, there's people who can't stay away from startups, right? Plus, it gives me great thrill to be involved with, either directly or through a team, with the creation of new technologies that have the potential long-term of changing the way people do important things, personal things. And technology is really a life-changing force.
In 1996, Mathur started a shopping technology company called Junglee.com. The name seemed to have been inspired by a famous Hindi film song.
Junglee was thought of as being the sequel to Yahoo. And then it played into the Shami Kapoor movie as well. And it was sort of, at that time, a very private joke, which only a few people understood.
Mathur's irreverent side came to the fore when he cross-dressed for an ad for Junglee. The ad brought the attention he was seeking for Junglee, and soon the giant shopping portal, Amazon, got interested in Mathur's venture.
It attracted Amazon's attention because in a couple of years after starting the company, we had pretty amazing traction. We were the shopping service of choice at most of the significant portals.
In 1998, Junglee was acquired by Amazon for shares worth $250 million. Again, all that for 2 years of work. The US has always been referred to as the land of opportunity, and the Indians in the Silicon Valley seem to be taking that description rather seriously.
This is truly a land of opportunity. I mean, there is a system which is very well established, in place already, and I think when Indians come, first of all, only the best come from India, and I think that gives people, and they see opportunities in this system, whereas some of the local people over here don't seem to see that opportunity because they've grown up with it. That's one. Two, and the second, only the best come over here, very technically oriented.
One of the pioneers amongst the Indians in the valley is a man who today is known as the father of the Pentium chip, Mr. Vinod Dham.
I think what really creates the difference between Indians and non-Indians, and why I think there are more of them in the valley being more successful in high tech here is, as entrepreneurs, is the fact that we grew up in India with 1 billion people and a culture where you learn every day without knowing how to compensate for everybody else's mistakes or everybody else's deficiencies. Even if you're driving down on the road, nobody follows traffic pattern. You are constantly compensating for the other guy, what the other guy is likely to do and not do. And I think that compensating builds into your psyche. So when you come in here and you do this entrepreneurship and run companies, no problem looks difficult to solve because you know how to compensate for wherever the deficiencies are.
Vinod Dham's journey begins in 1975 when he landed in the US with $8 in his pocket.
I landed up ashore here with $8, which turned out to be not adequate because I was under the impression, since I had scholarship and assistantship, that I would get that money when I land here. Turned out you don't get that money until about a month after you have worked here for a month. Just like anybody else, you have to work before you get your paycheck. Somehow I miscalculated that, and so I had to borrow $125 from a distress fund that the foreign student office in the school had for such cases.
Dham finished his master's in 1977. Soon he was offered a job at an organization he had only dreamt of working for while he had been in India, Intel Corporation.
Coming to Intel was a dream that I had even before I had left the shores of India. Intel was probably the best university I could have ever attended. It was a school of hard knocks. You learned things the hard way by doing it yourself, and you were competing with the best of the class people around you. But it was a very fair company. It was a very results-oriented company. One of the values in Intel is results orientation. And if you were delivering results, if you're accomplishing goods, then you would grow. And that's what happened to me. I was always getting things done, accomplishing my objectives, and getting noticed by the superiors, and therefore getting promoted with time to more and more responsibility.
Vinod Dham worked with Intel for 16 years and helped develop the Pentium chip, which completely revolutionized personal computers. Today he's known as the father of the Pentium, but by 1995, Vinod felt that his job was done. Besides, he was keen to experience life in a Silicon Valley startup.
I'm really glad I left Intel when I left Intel, because if I had not, I look back at about this age, you start declining in value in terms of your ability to go do startups. Startups require enormous energy, an enormous amount of dynamism, an enormous amount of risk-taking ability and challenge. And with age, you become mellow and you begin not to do some of those things that you would do when you were younger. So I'm really glad I left Intel. I was in my mid-40s, and I had to get this taste of quote-unquote entrepreneurship inside the Silicon Valley. And I've never looked back since then.
Dham, like many of the other Indians in the Silicon Valley, truly revels in the spirit of entrepreneurship and believes that it is an integral part of life in this valley of opportunities.
I'm pretty sure different individuals get driven by different needs, but as an entrepreneur, which is really what a startup is, it is the ultimate challenge. It's like the bungee jumping of the sports, if you will. You know, the buck stops on your desk. The challenges are so many and so diverse that it really tests your mettle to the ultimate. And I think that, to me, has been the most fulfilling aspect of being an entrepreneur, that if I had not been staying inside of Intel, you're still a thin slice out of a big pie. There are a lot of people doing a lot of things, and you're doing one of those things. But as an entrepreneur, when you do a startup, you're doing all of those things. Definitely not on the same scale that you do it in a company like Intel, but the challenges are about the same. And it subjects you to think of the best and brings the best out of you as a human being, as a professional, to really succeed.
The spirit of entrepreneurship notwithstanding, the recent years saw many of the Silicon Valley startups collapsing, especially the so-called dot-coms. Many of these startups had been started by the Indians.
was a bubble because valuations were too high, and a lot of ideas got funded expecting to be part of that bubble. The downside of this is that now a lot of companies are shutting down, and a lot of good ideas also will never see light of day because many of the companies just don't have sufficient runway to prove themselves, and investors are not willing to take the risks that they were before simply because they don't know how to tell a good risk from a bad one. And I think that's caused a big problem for a number of companies in the marketplace. And as far as companies folding down, that's all right. I mean, I don't see it as a negative at all. I mean, nothing ventured and nothing gained.
I did what I had to do, saw it through without exemption. I planned.
The bubble has burst, the dot-com bubble, and it's not just the Indian bubble. The dot-com was really a US and worldwide phenomenon all over the world. And clearly we had a lot of Indians involved in it here. I think going forward, this was just a thing that came and went. And most of us have been existing here for 25 to 30 years. And we have made it where we have made it through dint of repeatedly proving ourselves in leading major programs, major projects, or building big companies, or actually creating startups and taking them to exits, whether it be mergers, acquisitions, or IPOs. And that knowledge base is still there. And I think you will continue to see Indians being very successful in the Valley, in my opinion, in spite of the dot-com, dot-bomb crash that has occurred.
I have a dream. I have a dream.
These remarkable entrepreneurs are not only the essence of the best Indian minds, but also brilliant visionaries who are leading the world into the new information age.
Reality. And my destination makes it worth the while, pushing through